grab your teacups because the Stephanie Jenkins saga just keeps seasoning itself with more drama, and seriously, it's got people gagging in disbelief. Imagine this scene. 5 kids, all piled into one single cramped motel room, toys scattered, temper stretching thin, and Mama Stephanie still sitting on Facebook, typing away excuses like it's a full-time job. And then comes the twist. Someone allegedly dangled in front of her a dream deal, the kind of golden ticket you'd expect anyone in her shoes to snatch within seconds. But nope, sis reportedly let it slip right through her fingers, and the internet is not forgiving. Here's the juicy bit. According to a Facebook commenter, someone's aunt stepped up with what can only be described as the easiest, most low-barrier shot at stability Stephanie has ever had. The offer? A trailer home in La Grande for just $500 down, $600 a month, no credit check, no landlord digging through your life, nada.
Okay, so I know Stephanie just posted this on her page a couple days ago, but there are some things that I really need to get off my chest and I really need to talk about. So I'm going to read this very quickly and then let's talk about it. Okay, so the post reads, just because people make a post saying something, don't make it true. Drew and I have not declined any housing opportunity. This is the first time saying anything about any legit offer. But also, why should we be comfortable taking an offer for a place that now everyone has information about? That gives us a 0 chance of creating privacy for our new place. Very quick context. Apparently somebody was in Stephanie's comments stating that her mom offered Stephanie a house or an apartment or something, and Stephanie immediately turned it down and said no thank you. So this was the post that she made talking about that comment.
Basically a skip the drama, here's a house type of deal. For most struggling parents, this would have been the miracle moment. But instead of cheering and packing boxes, the word is that Stephanie politely, or not so politely, turned it down with a sweet little "no thank you." And that line, right there, was like throwing a lit match into a gasoline puddle because overnight the internet exploded with accusations. Now, Stephanie wasn't about to stay quiet. She got defensive on Facebook, posting one of her trademarked long-winded replies. She shot back saying, just because people post something, don't make it true. We have not declined any opportunity. This is the first time I'm even hearing about any legit offer. That alone might have smoothed things over, if she had stopped there. But nope, classic Stephanie style, she dragged the story into a whole new excuse. She claimed she wouldn't feel comfortable taking an offer where everyone already knows about the place. Suddenly it was about privacy, about safety, about not wanting strangers pulling up to her door.
Stephanie, you've got to make this one make sense for me. I am at a loss for words here. You put on your post the other day that you didn't turn down housing opportunities, but if you did, it would be for safety reasons because everyone would know where you were at. However, you go over to the Book of Faces and you dox your own children. You tell the entire internet where your children are 5 days a week, 7 to 8 hours a day. But you're afraid to take a house from an individual because the owner of the house may know where you're at. Make that make sense. Also, please explain to me why you would show up at your children's school wearing a lanyard that advertises gardening. Whether it's legal in your state or not, all schools are rug and alcohol-free zones. You're not allowed to wear clothing. You're not allowed to advertise it in any way. Anything that has to do with tobacco, rugs, alcohol, any of that. Profanity is not allowed at school, Stephanie. The embarrassment your children must have. I'm so confused at this point. I don't know if this is some kind of plot for you to claim and safety issues so that you can pull these children out and homeschool them, but there is a bigger, we all know that there's a bigger picture here, a bigger plan that you have cooked up, conjured up, whatever you want to call it. The thing is, though, that you're not allowed to pull Deshaun out. So how is that going to work? Because you're still going to have to take him to school and get up and make sure he has lunch and everything else. I'm just curious as to your thought process, Stephanie.
Cute point, except for the fact that Stephanie has never been shy about broadcasting her exact location online. This is the same woman who films in her motel rooms, pans the camera across the parking lot, shows off street views like she's hosting a travel vlog. Privacy? Girl, that ship sailed a long time ago. And people didn't miss that little but in her statement. If she truly hadn't declined anything, Why did she feel the need to justify? Why add a whole second paragraph about being uncomfortable in a place people know? That's not the language of denial. That's the language of deflection. The internet picked up on that instantly, and the dragging began. Comment sections were filled with users calling her out, saying she's mastered the art of swerving, pivoting, and spinning every lifeline into a poor me tale, while her kids are the ones paying the price. And here's where it gets really eyebrow-raising. This isn't the first time Stephanie's words don't match the receipts. Old scandals are resurfacing left and right because people remember. She once tried to convince everyone that her own mom refused to help until messages leaked showing her mom had offered her a place. She denied viewers ever offered to adopt or foster her children, only to have people like Sophie McAllister slide in with screenshots proving otherwise. Don't even get started on the infamous dog bed drama. Stephanie tried to spin it as clickbait nonsense until her own partner admitted, yeah, she actually did buy a dog bed for the kids to sleep on. And then there was Bella's bald spot incident. Stephanie swore up and down it was fabricated until Juice spilled the truth that yes, Bella did rip her own hair out when her band got stuck. Every time she swears something didn't happen, somehow receipts show it did, making her denials thinner and thinner. And just when you thought this circus couldn't spin another act, boom, Stephanie pulls out the privacy card. Yes, suddenly privacy is the reason she couldn't possibly move into that trailer home deal. But here's where it backfired spectacularly, because her audience, they weren't buying a single syllable. The whole excuse landed like a slap in the face because let's be really real here. Stephanie has never had privacy. She sacrificed that long ago, willingly. Every motel stay, documented. Every neighborhood, filmed. Every little corner of her temporary shelters staged like a Zillow tour for her followers. People literally tracked her old abandoned pets by backtracing her own videos. Privacy has never been a thing in Stephanie's world. She already handed it over gift wrapped to the internet in exchange for clicks. So when she suddenly cried safety, the reaction wasn't sympathy, it was rage.
SecondChanceApartments.com is the one attempt Stephanie made to find housing before they went to the shelter. Now, some people say that she got a voucher through a church, like a women's shelter, which would make sense why the room is so small because she would have gotten it for herself and for her kid. Because even at a motel, hotel, shelter, there's occupancy limits on rooms. There's an occupancy of my home that I can have. If they are paying customers at the shelter, why aren't they in a room that's big enough for their whole family? It was maybe like a week and a half before they were to be evicted, and she vlogged every single day. You know, she was very much join me on my journey. And because you made somebody mad, somebody did a Freedom of Information Act. This is available on Reddit, and it's the eviction documents. They were evicted over non-payment of $2,086. You know, Mr. Drew that Stephanie was bragging, he gets up at 5 in the morning and he's budgeting and da-da-da. He stopped paying rent. So they broke contract in their rental agreement by not paying, and then they stayed in there for 3 extra months until they were forced to go. Stephanie is not going to do things that inconvenience her personally, and it's not more evident than the decision-making of the cats. Everybody keeps skipping over this, but she slipped into a video and said, and I don't care if my mom said she'd take the cats. So you abandoned the cats. You did not explore every option, because that option of calling your mom and reconnecting and bringing her back in your life just to find a roof over the head of the cats, she couldn't even do that.
Comments came flooding in, angrier than ever. She doesn't want a house, she wants attention, one follower wrote, and that sentiment spread like wildfire because let's face it, her history paints itself on repeat. Deny, deny, deny until a receipt falls out, then spin it into a tragic backstory to keep the sympathy meter rolling, and this time it was too much for people who've watched the storyline drag on for years. They've seen it all before. The denials, the shifting excuses, the paper-thin reasoning that consistently keeps her exactly where she is with 5 children stuffed into one room while she leans into victimhood. It's like clockwork, and now the clock is ticking out of people's patience. And the theories? Oh, they're flying thick and fast. One of the juiciest whispers? Stephanie could be stalling for that golden government voucher, the ticket that covers the rent entirely. Why commit to $600 when you might just ride shelters and temporary stays until Uncle Sam drops you a free lease? On the surface, maybe it sounds practical, but when you're stacking 5 children like Tetris pieces in a single motel room, It starts to look a lot less like strategy and a lot more like neglect dressed up in patience. Then comes the darker, spicier theory. Instability isn't just her struggle, it's her brand. Think about it. Homeless Mama of 5 is her hashtag hook. It guarantees sympathy, donations, shares, and engagement. That motel room saga? That's the content pipeline. Is she suddenly in stable housing? Would the clicks dry up? Would doom scrollers stop binging her updates without the chaos? As tragic as it is, people are whispering that the answer might just be yes. And then, of course, there's Jew, Mr. Jobless. Stephanie has repeatedly defended him, saying some mysterious condition means work would take 10 years off his life. Dramatic? Yes. Convenient? Also yes, because as long as Stephanie can frame their life as trapped, neither of them has to step up to the grind of steady jobs, credit repair, or adult responsibility. Motel life becomes the perfect excuse bubble. No landlord breathing down their neck, no recurring rent to chase, no accountability. Just an endless loop of excuses, sympathy posts, and live streams from a room that looks more and more permanent every day. So what's the bigger truth here? It's not about the kids. That's the gut punch that has everyone fuming online. The kids don't get to choose, and yet they're the ones paying the steepest price for mom's cycle of refusals. Every time an opportunity comes along, another excuse is whipped up and another chance at stability dies on the spot. And audiences are done. They're calling for accountability, even throwing around the idea that CPS should intervene because the instability has shifted from unfortunate circumstance to what looks like an active choice. Others slammed her as an internet grifter, feeding off donations and attention while stringing along a storyline that grows darker with every update. And here's the hard truth, the one nobody can unsee anymore. Stephanie Jenkins isn't prioritizing her kids' stability. She's prioritizing the narrative, the excuses, the engagement, the clout. Privacy is just the latest plot twist, an empty shield covering up the fact that she's choosing to extend the storyline instead of ending it with a house key in her hand. Viewers are starting to call it like it is. The motel isn't a prison anymore. It's her stage. And every day those kids spend crammed inside 4 dusty walls becomes evidence that this isn't survival, it's strategy. And that's the latest on the Stephanie Jenkins saga. Excuses, chaos, and a motel that's starting to look more like a stage than a shelter. What do you think? Is she really stuck, or is this just content strategy 101? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you want to keep up with all the juicy updates, don't forget to hit that like button, smash subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss the next twist in this never-ending drama.